Alright, so we're checking out a gold flex DPS. Your sound arrow's on cooldown? Okay. So, good choice sound arrowing the door. I'm hoping that you're going to do it again because you did it too early. If anyone's going to be up there, they should never be up there.
What level are you?
Oh,
Nope, not going to do it again. Oh, there you go. Okay.
I'm like right.
Still, though, think about where you're standing, okay? Right off the bat. This is super risky because there's no cover in front of you whatsoever. A lot better place to stand is a lot of people go on this statue over here where we can probably get a good view of where like a lot of people go 2 seconds earlier. Okay, there we go. A lot of people go on this statue over here and there's like a little gap you can shoot through right there. And you can even like climb up the statue and get like a cheeky shot real quick. And you have some sort of cover. Where you're standing, you actually have no cover whatsoever. So maybe, you know, you sound arrowed the top door, or sonic arrowed the top door, but what if there's literally just a McCree on the bottom who can shoot you or something like that? It's super risky to be anywhere like that.
Watch me as I exploit golds.
Yeah.
What level are you?
Oh, I'm gold.
Rank, sorry. I'm like right above 2500.
I was like above 2500, but I dropped it down actually. I just had a bad comp day.
Widowmaker.
There we go.
David Widow, okay.
Super unfortunate, but it's
Then
just we can't play when there's no cover.
Okay, then we're.
This is good of that widow, definitely, but like think about what happens here, okay? So pretty much everyone is dead up here or dying. Maybe your Ana will make it out, maybe. And so if we're going to peek this corner, it needs to be like a little like jiggle peek where you're just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, because you know that there's going to be people coming here, and you know that they're going to want to kill you
We're gonna want to switch this out.
because it's a big stagger.
Fuck me.
Instead, you kind of stepped out into the open, and that widow took advantage of that.
Okay, never mind. Con ammo.
But Excel, if you can play something that'd counter that tracer better, probably wouldn't suck.
Like a McCree or something.
Even where you're at right now, the literal like rule of corners is that whoever is like closest to the corner can actually decide when the engagement begins, because otherwise they just use the corner to block out the fight. And so where you're at right now, especially now that you've already taken one body shot, you're not close enough to that corner to where like if you miss your arrow, you're not going to be able to duck around the corner soon enough for that widow to not kill you. And so instead, when you're taking this duel, you should be by this corner, and then you can quickly peek and shoot an arrow and go back before they even get a chance to really respond to you. Now, a lot of times too, you would also like crouch when you peek or something like that, so that you know you're even harder to hit because you're moving, and just really good sniper tactics that you're not doing them right now.
No. Yeah.
Trace is gonna keep coming.
Tracer's on me, right side with our Ana.
Sure.
Think about where you're at right now,
Tracer's
alright?
on me.
So there's no cover here. You're not close enough to the cover. You're not right enough to be behind the cover. If when you exited this building, if the widow was here, if they had taken a higher position here, flanking through this doorway here, even here, you are in so much danger because they have great sight lines on you. Play closer and behind this cover, and you'll have a much better time.
Right side with our Ana.
Sure. Okay.
In the back. Yeah, please, somebody
see.
for the love of God. Thank you,
Good kill.
Excel,
Good kill,
for
good kill.
an
Nice.
absolute monster.
All 5 of your 6 teammates should not go back there to kill the tracer, but I'm glad it worked out for you guys.
Oh, shit. Okay,
And again, let's just think about this. Think about where you're standing here. This at least has some cover, because now, like, we just drew where you can be shot from. Now you can only be shot from here and here and maybe like back here really. So you've gone down to realistically like 2 good spots and only 3 spots total, where previously there was 4 good spots that you could be shot from. So you've taken it down a little bit, but then you get like closer to the fight. So like here, like you're putting yourself in danger to be shot.
Moira half. Took a body. Oh shit. Okay, Widow's,
She's
far
behind
left,
us.
far left, yeah, behind you.
Okay.
Legit right here.
So Widow has sights. I'm sure that you heard that. So like, do you know what time it ends? Sights is super simple because it's 15 seconds. And so as soon as you hear sights, you can literally just do quick math in your head. Okay, there's 5 minutes and 5 seconds on the game clock. So sights are over. Yeah, sights are over at 4:50, you know? And so that quick math is so good for you and your team.
Widow top.
Okay, I don't know what to say there. You can see the Widow. Like, you know that is going to be the Widow. It's not going to be anyone else. And you're caught out in the open again. So you should be ducked behind one of these sides so that you're so much safer. But what I was saying is quick math on the sights, 15 seconds, nothing crazy. There you go. Nothing crazy. And it's so advantageous to your team.
That Widow is just hard countering.
Fuck, dude.
We lost our Widow.
So much better than me. God damn.
I got Grav.
I've got Nano.
Okay, we have. Okay.
Save Shatter, we can grab
So
it.
Widow did there
Or we
is
can
killed
grab,
both of your snipers.
Dragon
You
Shield.
because you had no positioning whatsoever. And your Widow, I have no clue why. But now your Widow their Widow has literally made that a 6v4. And so you guys are playing 2 snipers to counter Widow,
Okay.
and all you did was make Widow's job easy.
Excel, if you can play Widow,
They're
then do
keeping me
it.
100% charge. I can if one of you guys can play off.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident in my ability to duel.
Sim.
It
Okay.
ain't all that hard to aim and click.
I'm grabbing them. Grabbing them.
So I believe you're in Pugs right now too. So are you not communicating like by choice there? Because
Big yikes.
one of the big things that's gonna happen with Pugs, like I mean even more so than like 2-3 stacks in like comp, is that Pugs are going to usually have communication. So if you're not communicating, like your Zarya literally said I'm gonna grab them. If you weren't in a good position to grab or to dragon the grab, and your Zarya shouldn't just be expected to know that. And so if your any team does not have that level of communication, but the enemy team does have that level of communication, you guys are gonna have a really bad time in Pugs.
Get this Ryan. Nice.
Ryan's dead.
He's down. Good job, good job. I have bubble.
Yes.
Nice, nice, nice.
Think about where you're standing almost this whole time. Like, we haven't really mentioned it because I'm not trying to keep beating that in, but there is no cover here at all. Especially, it's unforgivable, partially even because of the map. King's Row, especially point 3, is insane how many great positions you can take, and we're just not taking them. So one of the first things you can do is, if you're scared, you can even play back here. Okay? So that can be number 1. Because there's walls right here that have breaks. So you can stand next to one of those breaks and peek and shoot. And you can literally see pretty much everything that you need to as soon as the cart is after about this point here. So that it would be like a very defensive position that you can take. You can go over here kind of behind these boxes, and that can be number 2. And it's very similar to over here, a very defensive position. It gives you shorter sight lines without like exposing yourself, because you can really only see like there, but you're at least way more protected from like their widow that they have, who's going to probably be playing on this high ground here. Number 3, you can go up onto this high ground, and you don't even have to stress about the widow if you're confident that you can at least try to outshoot them. Because what happens is you leave spawn, you go around back, and you just climb up here. And then you should have a very clean sight on the widow, unless she literally was waiting for you. And so it's kind of like a one try kind of thing. But then the nice part is, let's say you fail. So you miss that shot, whatever. Drop down here, and you have 2 choices. You can either go through here and try and hit another shot on the widow, depending on where the payload is. Try and hit a shot on a support or something. Or you can drop down again and duck back here and go to position 2. And so you have fantastic choices of sightlines on this map, especially right at the end here. And especially if you pull them back, you need to start playing like parallel high ground. So you need to start playing over here when they're in this area, and then once they're past that area, you switch to over here. And there's fantastic choices there. But you can even play like back here. It's not ideal, but at least you have some sort of cover and you have a long straight sightline. But you should never play at all within this area here, because what are you doing? There's no cover whatsoever. There is better places for you to stand. I would say that Hanzo at no point should be within any of that area when you're holding King's Row 3rd. There is so many good choices, so many high grounds, so much cover that still give you good sightlines, and yet you're literally like living over here, which is crazy.
Sitting in the back. I need heals. Nice, good old.
Oh my god, thank you for that bubble.
No problem.
Widow's up top on the left side. Watch out, watch out. She's inside.
She's up top on the right.
Oh, that's...
Yeah, she's on the right. She ran. Get Genji, get Genji.
She knows exactly where I am.
yeah, they have walls right now.
Do we have barrier? No, we don't. I think we lost points. Just try and hop on. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I'm just saying I have to improve the entire game.
So
Why
you
not?
came
Because nobody's
back onto point
shatter.
to like
Don't
stall
always need that.
as Genji. And so I want you just to think, like, is there better stall heroes?
Yeah.
Because there is better stall heroes. And even like if you're thinking like, oh, I know that they're going to blade us soon, you can come back on like D.Va, who D.Va could help you threaten the high ground widow. D.Va can substitute as kind of like a DPS tank if you're down one. D.Va will survive multiple slashes from that blade. D.Va could have tried to eat the grav. And so in a stall situation, you can sometimes forget like, oh,
Is there any,
I'm playing
like,
healer,
is
so
there
I need to be a
anything else
healer
our DPS can play besides
because you're
DPS in the
stalling.
future?
One of the best things that like can happen is like if your widow comes back on like a Lucio, it can help heal everyone up. They can wall ride
Okay.
around point. Fantastic choices.
Okay, can you play Zarya? Okay.
Maybe you are communicating. Maybe your
They're
screen
running,
capture
Red
just doesn't
Zarya.
pick up your voice.
They're running Ryan Zarya. I don't see a. I'm gonna run, or should I? I'm gonna run Widow since they ran one on defense. They're probably running one now.
They're running Hanzo, not Widow.
Okay then.
I'd say that there's a possibility that they're running both, but...
They're running both.
Okay, so right here, just a general kind of rollout tip for you you don't need to stop walking at all right here. You keep walking with your Rhyme, and for these first couple seconds at least, while you're getting your charge and stuff, you almost play like your Rhyme. So you can actually kind of shield your team while they like go past this choke, because what you do is in this choke here, you pop your bubble, and your team just goes right behind you. The enemy has two choices. If they want to shoot at your team, they can shoot your bubble, and if they don't want to shoot at your team, then your team got to cross safely. And so, just a good general tip for you there. In response to your bubble usage on your Rhine here, here's the problem. He goes into the choke, and you think that he's like going to be in some sort of danger, or you think that you can get some sort of charge, so you bubble him, but you don't even see anything yet. So you bubble him right there, and the only thing that you've seen is a Rhine. You gotta wait, because you don't know. What if as soon as he gets over here there's a Bastion? What if that Ryan is kind of just playing like a decoy, and they have like an Orisa Bastion set up here or something like cheesy, and you have no clue, and now you have a long cooldown on your bubble. Your Ryan might need your bubble, and you didn't get any charge. So you gotta wait until you can actually see something coming at your Ryan.
I got Widow.
And then again, you kind of did the same with your bubble. It was kind of pointless. There wasn't like damage immediately like coming down on you, but you bubbled because there was enemies right in front of you. Those were better bubbles because there was damage and stuff, but a better way to play this would have been to push forward through this door here, and to have yourself bubble off cooldown, or to have your Ryan wait like 1 second. You can step in front of him and take all that damage, and then you have your bubble for him when he tries to pin or something like that, or when they start to push him. Instead you did it backwards, and you did kind of both bubbles at the same time.
I was rather deep taker.
Hanzo got me.
Yep, so as Zarya right now, you should be backing up to try and conserve your charge. It's 2v5 or 2v6. No, that's crazy that you didn't get out of there. Look at this, you had escaped. And if you've been watching the kill feed, I believe that they have 5 people left. And so you guys are not going to win this realistically. And yet you pushed up there. That's so unfortunate. You could have made it out of there with 100 charge so easily.
I'm gonna play Junkrat.
Okay.
Because he's a brain dead champion, and I apparently need a brain dead character right now.
It's not gonna work against their Widow or Hanzo, and they have a Lucio to boost away. Hello? Why did Rhinos try it?
I'm coaching.
Okay.
You're spying.
They're low, they're low. Widow got
Gotta
me,
think about those bubble usage just a little bit more.
Don't roll with it. Never mind, don't roll with it.
Force Widow off high ground.
Okay, how many ults did these though?
Widow dead, but Zarya killed me.
Yep.
Unlockers.
Again, kind of the same thing. Gotta watch the kill feed.
Shatter Grav.
You just went into a 3v1 at the end there, when you might have been able to make it out with your charge. Might have been able to right click on your way out to get some alt charge.
I don't see their Widow right now. Hanzo down, Hanzo down.
Okay, it was a good round bubble. Let him push in.
Overpoint. Window.
Good grab form too. That's exactly what I always recommend in 99% of grabs. Right click the floor or right click one of the targets and punch all around.
Lucio down.
Try and have just a little bit more arch on your punch, because it does travel quite a bit, and you might have missed a person or two, especially if that was a bigger grab, but you were doing it correctly. You're probably not going to left click a tracer usually, just right clicker.
Yep, I'm down. I have dragons though. We can't lose this.
You're
way back.
getting shot by the Widow, and look where you're standing. Why are you standing here still? She hit one shot on you right now, and so immediately your brain should freak out and go, I need to go here, I need to go here, but you cannot get shot in the open by Widow and then stay in the open. That's so unfortunate, and definitely something that will hold you back on tanks. On a DPS, you would have died because you're out in the open anyway.
On way back.
God damn it,
Nice.
butthead.
Good cap. Good cap. Good cap. Mhm. I got ults. Okay. 70%. Oh, nice. Can I have some heals? Okay.
Ah! She's behind. She's going down. She's going.
Where's their widow? Where's their widow? I can't see her right now. I see it. Widow's low. Nice, good shatter. Get right, get right.
So do you kind of see what's going on here? Your team is split. Half of you are trying to kill a Tracer in the back, and half of you are trying to push the payload. How you can deal with a Tracer easier if they're harassing your back is have your back play closer to you guys. And then you guys can do a quick 360 if Tracer is really being a problem. But Tracer probably won't be a problem if your healers are close to you.
Okay.
Lucio's
But
out right
because you guys were half chasing them, your Ryan got a fat shatter and no one could follow up on it.
Yep.
Your job as a tank,
Okay.
even
Yep.
a Zarya
Yeah.
DPS tank, is not to chase every single threat on the planet. Like, no, go back.
Widow's far back.
Widow's in back.
Low down.
I'm down.
So you know
I'm
you're
down,
probably
I'm down.
going to get shattered here. So are you playing like around that at all? Because their Rhine hasn't shattered in a long time, and this is kind of just a general conversation about alts. We're not hitting tab, which is something that we need to do first off, because we get a fancy menu right here that tells us exactly what our enemies have switched to, which may change the way we play if they've gone like goats or something like that. So we have to hit tab more, and we have to think about ults, which can happen when we hit tab. So Sound Barrier was one that they used on first point and haven't used since, and so was Earth Shatter. And so in my mind right now, I'm thinking, okay, I know that my grab is going to get Sound Barriered. I know that they probably have sights on their Widow because they haven't used that in a while. They probably have Pulse Bomb because I haven't seen the Pulse Bomb. And they probably have Shatter because I haven't seen the Shatter. Unless any of that just happened while we were gone, or I'm just misremembering. But that's what I need to realistically play around. And so you have to think right now, I'm probably going to get Shattered. And so you have two choices. You either save your personal to protect yourself from the Shatter, or you play by your Ryan if you trust them to block it. There it is. There it is. Unfortunately, a bummer, but not surprising at all. We knew that they had ults, and we weren't playing like they had ults, and so they ulted us.
It's less of a bait and more of a trade, I'd say.
Yeah, it's. If I say what, it's because you have a little bit of a thick accent.
I have Tyre again.
Yeah, I'll swap to off tank after I Dragon Strike. I'll do it to initiate the fight. Tracer, where's Tracer?
So why did we
Okay.
go Genji?
You all
Who
ready?
are we gonna counter on Genji?
Nice. Good ult.
Pot hits from this.
Well, I got their Ana released.
Their Widow's behind
Your
us.
team is getting destroyed by a Tracer and a Widow.
Hey, Zinfra, watch out for
And
Widow's
there's
behind
Sights and Pulse Bomb, by the way. But your team is getting destroyed by a Tracer
back,
and a
I'm going back.
Widow.
Oh, fuck. That
And
didn't
you went
I'm going back to
Genji,
Dragon
and your other DPS
Strike.
is
we have
junk
Nano
crap.
Ryan. We have Nano Ryan.
I honestly feel bad for your
Nano Blade,
healers and
either one
tanks
works.
because you can't support them the way that they need you to.
Good cat. True. Well, I I mean, depends on how long it takes to get a good opportunity.
Grab Shatter and then wait for Nano Blade. Or, sorry, Dragon Shatter.
I'm ulting him now.
Widowmaker's low ground still.
Get him. Put. Okay, they use Nano. Tracer's behind.
Oh fuck, I'm so sorry about that concussion.
I'm shattered.
Trying to keep him off you, didn't really work that well, but
Tracer's dead, I think.
When you
Yep,
see the
Tracer's
tracer
dead.
coming
Kills,
like that,
kills.
you could stand right on top of your Hanzo and deflect,
Widow down.
or something similar. It's a great way that some Genjis who play
Widow
like the
down.
utility
I got
style,
you.
like when you're playing with your team instead of the flanking
Did I
style,
D.Va?
it's a
Probably DPS.
great way for them to really get value out of their
Okay, we have
deflect.
Nano Blade, and I'm going D.Va now.
To either use it in a grab or use it in a situation where they didn't get shattered or something like that.
What? Yeah, they probably have grab soon. If the
Tracer
D.Va
dead,
tries to walk
Tracer
into
dead,
us, I'm gonna
Tracer
try
dead.
and Matrix her.
Alright, Genji, are you ready?
Nice. Oh, okay. Yeah, tired.
Widow
Nice
dead.
kill, nice kill. Ana dead. Get Lucio, get Lucio. Nice. I got her. Get Zarya. She's high charge.
Ana should die here. She's dead, she's dead.
Nice. We're out of time. We're gonna need to hold first point. Like we're gonna need to hold the first tick next round. Nice, good kill. Tracer's low. Tracer down.
And this is all just cleanup. There's nothing
Ulting
nothing to this either way. It's
That's two.
sure there's like improvements you can make, sure there's things that you're doing great, but the enemy team is just staggering on and you guys are just quickly cleaning
Yeah.
them up.
Mercy Moira, yeah, that's good, that's good. Oh, why do we have a Reaper?
Because Reaper is the only character that I can play really well.
Oh, okay then.
Reaper's like coming back.
True, dude. Once he gets that,
I mean-
once he gets that fucking 50%, dude, it's gonna be nuts.
Oh my gosh, he's bad enough as it is right now.
Their Tracer's going left.
So nice position at first. It lets you get those early bombs off, lets you get them far. But then you crossed through the open to get back to your team, and you're still in the open.
Max charge, max
And
charge.
you know that you're playing against a good Widow. And so honestly, it's just luck that the Widow hasn't focused you.
Left side.
And you can't rely on luck to keep you alive.
Tracer's left side, she's looking behind us.
Yep.
Pushing point now.
She's recalled.
You're going out in the open. You're not a front line. Look at this. All of your enemies are literally right here. Except for one. And you literally, we can keep that up, and you walk in front of most of them. All over there still.
Ryan's low, Ryan's low.
It's just luck and good healing that you didn't die there.
Have bubble soon for you, Ryan. There. Nice, Tracer behind, Tracer behind.
There you go.
Tracer down. Good kills. Zarya low.
Not didn't play that
Yeah.
bad, just could have played it better. Especially like once the Zarya had cornered you, like you're in a tough position as a Junkrat.
Okay. They have
got-
sights
they've
and
got
we have
walls.
grab.
If you get stuck, just
That's
stay still.
unfortunate. I need heal.
So it says you're stuck, just don't
That's
move 1
unfortunate.
inch.
I'm down. That's GG.
Fuck, dude, that Reinhardt murked my ass.
Alright.
Definitely some positioning stuff, especially on your DPS. Your Zarya, like for what I would expect at your rank, needed some help, but not anything like crazy. But your Genji, your Hanzo, and your Junkrat needed some help with positioning, where to be, how to counter the people countering you, which is a large part of positioning. But then also, like on your Zarya especially, it showed that you really need work on like when to use your cooldowns, because you can't be just using your bubbles just for charge or just for fun or just because there is red guys in front of you. And that even goes for like Hanzo and stuff. Like if we save Storm Arrow for a good time, obviously we don't want to be holding it too long, but if we save it for once the Rhine shield is like he's not close enough to cover to dip behind immediately, and then you Storm Arrow it so it goes down, you know, it's a major advantage for your team. And so definitely some stuff there. But I would say, you know, one thing that's going to make the biggest difference right now is learn where covering is and what good positioning is. So good positioning doesn't make your job too hard to hit the shots you need, allows you to control some sort of sightlines, and allows you to survive and assist your team. Those are like the three key starting points. It can go so much more in depth, but you got to start learning what good positioning is, where it is, and start using it for your DPS. For your Zarya, really focus on your bubbles, and you'll start having a better time. And I gave some tips throughout the video, so I'm not going to go over that too much. And then for all of your heroes, hit tab and start thinking about your enemy's ults, and you will have such a better time when you're expecting a shatter and so you're outside of the range of a shatter, or when you know your exact ally's ult so you can even say something like nano me or stuff like that. If you're not hitting tab, you don't have that information, and so you're playing at an information disadvantage right away.